"Oh," said Darth, "the Cave of Doom." And Doom said, "Yeah, kind of, but more of a deep voice, like, "The Cave of Doom." And Joe tried it, "The Cave of Doom." No, you went Doom. It's more Doom. Wait, now I'm getting confused. The Cave of... Ah, you guys have confused me for the last and first time. Now it's time for me to confuse you. And Doom disappeared in a puff of smoke. "I hate it when he does that," said Darth. "Yeah, me too," said Joe. "Oh, well, let's get out of here." They started walking, but the door was locked. So they had to squeeze underneath that little rock. So I started squeezing underneath, and Darth said, "I think we shouldn't go back." "Oh, come on, Joe. It's not..." Darth said, "Joe, it's not such..." "Hey, how come I called you Joe? I don't know, maybe you were confused by Doom." "You're right, but it's not such a bad squeeze." "Yeah, but you don't want to go any further." "Why not? Let's keep going. We got to get out of here. It's getting late. I want to eat dinner." "But there is a large set of jaws facing us." "Huh?" And they looked forward, and sure enough, a huge jaw was wide open on the other side of that place where they were crawling through, and it was waiting for them, and it was green and smelly. "Alligator jaws," said Joe. "Alligator jaws," said Darth. And sure enough, waiting in the cave of Doom was a giant alligator, similar to a crocodile, but crocodiles don't live in caves of doom, only alligators. And it was waiting for them with its mouth open. "Well, if we continue that way, we'll be alligator sandwich. Let's transport onto the other side of him. We don't know what's on the other side of him. It could be more alligators." "You're right," said Darth. "Let's back up." And they started backing up. When they were backing up, though, they felt something wrapping around their leg. Some sort of slimy, salty, seaweed was wrapping around their legs, and the chamber was slowly filling with water. "Wow, this is quite a scary cave," said Joe. "You're right," said Darth. "We should include this in our Cave of Doom when we make it ourselves." "Good thinking," said Joe, as the water was rising up near their heads and they were about to be drowned. "But maybe it's too scary for our customers." "Well, we'll put it down in level 5. We'll make a new scary level, that we started building anyway." "Yeah, good thinking. Better hold your breath now. Yeah, take out those oxygen pellets, okay? Good thinking." Yep. And suddenly the entire room was filled with water. They couldn't breathe, but luckily Darth and Joe carry little oxygen cartridges that they can put right over their mouth and breathe through their mouth underwater. Well, the seaweed was holding them down, and since Darth and Joe knew that seaweed wasn't intelligent and wasn't able to hold them down, they decided to look closer underwater, and sure enough, it wasn't seaweed at all. It was the tentacles of a large brown gligglomagloggla. A gligglomagloggla is basically your standard sea monster, larger than most sea monsters, and very unusual to find inside of a cave. Of course, in the Cave of Doom, you might find such a creature, but a gligglomagloggla, it was pulling them down under the water, probably waiting for them to drown so it could then slowly eat them. And in fact, Darth saw its mouth. It had a kind of a relatively small mouth for a creature of that size, with a beak that was designed to crush human bones or other animals' bones as it pulled them in and ate them, causing them to be eaten by the glimmerglock. So Darth and Joe were being pulled down by the tentacles toward the mouth of this brown creature, slimy, kind of a reddish brown, that lived underwater, and which made Darth think that there must be a large body of water underneath this thing, because this room wasn't very big for a gligglomaglock. And Joe was thinking the same thing. They weren't talking to each other because they had the oxygen cartridges in their mouths at the time. And Darth started opening up his hand and motioning to Joe. And Joe, because he had worked with Darth for so long, knew exactly what Darth was talking about. The curd. Curd is kind of a chewy cheese, and Joe is a little farther away from the mouth, handed Darth a big handful of the leftover curd, and Darth stuffed it into that open and shut sharp mouth of the gligglomaglock they were being pulled toward, and it started getting caught on the chewiness of it all, and it started loosening up its hold on Darth and Joe, but it still didn't let go. And so Darth had another idea, and he took out his knife and reached around and started cutting off part of the bottom of his shoe, but he couldn't quite reach because of the tentacles. So Joe took out his lightsaber underwater and cut off the rest of the heel of Darth's shoe, which was made out of a rubbery material, and he put that in the mouth of the gligglomaglock, and then it really had problem with it trying to chew, because now it was like having a huge mouthful of peanut buttery bubble gum, and it completely let go of them, and they swam down a tunnel that they noticed had opened up in the wall, probably an outlet tunnel for the water. And sure enough, they ended up in a big lake underground, and they swam to the surface. They took out the cartridge things. They looked around, and they said, where are we? They said that at the same time. I don't know, we're in some kind of lake, said Darth. Yes, exactly. And they started swimming, and they had to swim quickly because there was a large pool of piranha fish that were chasing them. Their teeth were going... Piranha can strip the meat off of an animal in seconds if there are enough piranha. They are very vicious. And Darth thought, well, maybe I can communicate with them. They're googs. And so he put his head underwater, and he said, which in piranha meant, hey, don't eat us. We're googs. We can communicate with you. But to the piranha, it just sounded like... Because, in fact, piranha, although they could communicate by sticking their heads outside of the water and talking to Darth and Joe. When you communicate underwater, it just sounds like... So it wasn't any help at all. But luckily, one of the piranha did stick his head above the water just to see what was going on, to see how many of Darth and Joe's were there and how big a meal it would be and how many piranhas they might want to invite to dinner to eat Darth and Joe. And that's when then Joe stuck his head up because he saw the piranha stick his head up out of the water, and he said, which means, hey, piranha, please don't eat us, we're googs, we can communicate with you. And the piranha said, oh, that's great, we love food that communicates. Just a minute, I'll get some more friends to talk to you. And soon a whole bunch of piranha were sticking their heads out of the water and saying, oh, tell us, do you taste better with salt or without? Because we weren't quite sure. We were thinking of stripping you from the legs up to the brain because we thought maybe the brain was the tastiest part. Can you help us out since you can communicate with us so well? Never mind, said Joe. We got to get out of here, he said to Darth. Good thinking, said Darth. What's your plan? No plan in particular, but the piranha are getting awfully close. Hey, maybe we can teleport up to the ceiling and use our climbing ropes. They have hooks in them, and dangle there for a while we think about what to do. So they did just that. They transported up to the ceiling of the cave, and when they got to the ceiling, they stuck their hooks into the ceiling, and they were hanging from the ceiling from ropes about 1,200 feet above this pool, this lake of piranha fish with their mouths snapping. And they could hear the piranha fish saying things like, they do look tasty dangling there. When do you think they'll drop down? Because I have some other things to do. Could I come back in about 5 minutes? Another piranha saying, I think they can hold on for 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. Well, I don't want to miss anything, said one piranha. Oh, we'll save you some leftovers. Oh, like you did that last time when those underwater sea divers came. You guys ate all of them without even telling me there was any, said one of the piranhas. Yeah, we're sorry about that. We were so hungry. There hadn't been any humans in here for a while. Well, that's because Dr. Doom doesn't feed us enough. You guys know Dr. Doom? Yelled Darth and Joe down to them. Oh, yeah, he keeps us fed so that we'll stay alive, so we'll eat people like you. Come in here. It's kind of a symbiotic relationship, which means it works for us both ways. It helps Dr. Doom because we get rid of intruders. That's you guys, intruders, people coming in who are not invited, which is everybody, because Dr. Doom doesn't invite anybody in here, generally speaking. And it helps us because we get delicious meals of different tasting people all the time. We're really looking forward to eating you two. Thanks, said Joe. Yeah, said Darth. We're looking forward to it too. Not. Oh, that's what they all say. Actually, that's not what they all say, said the other piranha. Don't they all just say, ah, and they start screaming and bleeding? Well, that's right, you're right. They don't all say that they're looking forward to it. Yeah, you're right. They usually say, ah! Hey, are you guys going to scream when we eat you? Probably, said Darth. Okay, just checking. What can we do to get out of this situation? Said Darth. Exactly my thinking, said Joe. The gun! What gun? Gun? We don't have guns. No. Don't you remember you picked up that green slime gun from that goblin creature? You're right, said Joe. I have no idea why I didn't think of that before. It's in here somewhere. Started reaching around. Be careful not to fall. But then Joe fell. But Darth reached down his foot and grabbed Joe's leg underneath his knee and his foot. And Joe managed to hold on to Darth's leg. And Darth reached his hand up and pulled Joe up. Thanks, Darth. You're welcome, Joe. And Joe aimed the green slime gun down at the piranha fish, and he said to them, piranha fish, yes, meal? Stop calling us meal. I was just calling you meal. I'm calling him after meal snack. Okay, but what my point is I have here a green slime gun. Huh? And the piranha fish, because they lived in the Cave of Doom, they knew about the goblin with the green slime gun, instantly dispersed and ran away. Because if you spray green slime in water, it spreads all around, making the water dissolve the piranha fish, and none of them wanted to be dissolved themselves, so they left. Of course, it would have been dangerous for Darth and Joe because they could then not drop down into the water to swim away because it would be filled with green slime. So it was sort of a bluff, but the piranha fish bought the bluff, meaning they believed that Joe really was going to spray the green slime at them, and so they swam away. Well, that helps that, said Darth. Now where do we go? I believe, said Joe, that we should go through the ceiling up here. And he reached into his pocket and he threw the instant door that he had acquired in another adventure up into the ceiling, and there was a hole there. And Darth and Joe flipped up using their Jedi tricks into the next level of the Cave of Doom, which was very slippery indeed because it was covered with a layer of ice, and they started slipping. Oh, no, look out! They were holding hands and spinning in circles and sliding down the ice until flap! They slid into something quite soft and squishy and white. Hey, what is this, a giant marshmallow? No, it looks like more like it's moving, said Darth. Well, I figure it's probably yet another monster. This place is just filled with monsters, said Joe. Oh, come on, Darth, it's not so bad. Hey, it's breathing. And they tried to get a better look at it, and it was slightly furry, very soft, giant white creature, and had some sort of bird wings, and it started moving, and Darth and Joe didn't want to slide around the ice, and they held on to the fur for dear life, and pretty soon it started flapping around, and it was in the air, and the ceiling of the pit of death seemed to pop up out of the way when the bird creature pressed a button with his talon. It was some kind of giant bird of prey, and soon they were way in the air, way above the mountain, way above the pit of death, hanging from the belly of some kind of huge bald eagle. This is some sort of huge bald eagle, said Joe. Yeah, I got that. I just heard the narrator. Huh? Well, anyway, what are we going to do? I don't know. We could hold on. It doesn't even seem to notice that we're here, said Darth. You're right. Hey, let's see where it takes us. And the giant bald eagle took them up to Bald Eagle Mountain. Bald Eagle Mountain, Darth and Joe knew well, was the largest mountain on their planet. They landed near the very top of Bald Eagle Mountain in the nest where the giant bald eagle was feeding his babies. He was actually feeding his babies some creatures who were very unlucky enough to have been caught by the giant bald eagle creature. But since it was so giant, these creatures were giant themselves to Darth and Joe. Darth and Joe's were like insects on the bald eagle creature. It didn't even notice them. So Darth and Joe had an idea, and they whispered it to themselves, and then they yelled in unison because they were so small the giant bald eagle creature could hardly hear them, but they were googs, so they could communicate with us. Hey, you! What? What? Said the giant bald eagle creature. We said, not what, you! Whoa, who's talking to me? Not who, us down here. Oh, little insects. You might be tasty, but you're kind of too small for my babies to eat. Well, thank you very much, but that's not why we're talking to you. We're talking to you because we were wondering if you'd like to have a delicious meal of rats of unusual size. Rat, rat, we love rats of unusual size. That's our primary food source, yelled the giant bald eagle. Well, they're right down there in the Cave of Doom. Rat, I know, but it's very hard for me to get them because they're in a lower level than the level I live in. Every once in a while, one wanders into the wrong place and I bring it up for my kids to eat. They love snacking on rats of unusual size, said a giant bald eagle creature. Hey, well, we'd like to make friends with you. See, Darth and Joe thought, hey, it would be great to have a friend of a giant bald eagle creature, because this creature was so huge that they were only like insects on it, and a creature like that would be very useful as an ally or friend to Darth and Joe. So they decided to help the bald eagle creature, and they said, well, take us down to the cave and we'll get some out for you. Why would you help us? Well, we just want to be friends with you. We're Darth and Joe Vader. We're friends to all animals except for, of course, rats of unusual size, and we're googs. That's why we can communicate with you. Okay, if you can get me rats of unusual size, I'll be your friend for life, your friend forever, and I won't even eat you, he said. He added a little joke to adding at the end. Oh, thanks, we really appreciate that. Hold on! And the bald eagle started flying down. His wings were incredibly large and powerful. And he flew down back to the entrance of the cave, and Darth and Joe said, wait out here, and they ran inside the cave. and they ran right underneath the feet of the giant fierce bat creature who was saying snarls. He was still practicing his snarls. He didn't even notice that Darth and Joe ran right underneath his feet. And they ran right into the area with the squishy ground near the rats of unusual size. They punctured the ground to attract the rats, and then they started putting out a trail of cheese outside. Joe said, "Is this quite ethical?" "What do you mean?" said Darth. "Well, we're tricking them and they're going to be eaten." "Yes, but it'll be a great meal for the bird." "Yeah, but I just don't feel right about us causing the deaths of these innocent rats of unusual size, which are of course incredibly vicious and try to eat us, but still, I don't feel right about making them get killed." "You're right," said Darth. "What are we going to do?" "Let's create artificial rats of unusual size using protein, plant protein that's..." "I know," said Joe. DHNA. The chemical that turns plants to animals and animals to plants? Yes, we can take some plant material, form it into a giant casserole the shape of a rat of unusual size, then put just the right amount of DHNA on it to change the cells of the plant creature to animal meat, and that way it'll actually be an animal, but it won't be intelligent because we won't make it from a living plant. We'll make it from just vegetable matter that will chop up and form into the shape of rat of unusual size. That was a brilliant idea. And Darth said, that was a brilliant idea. And Joe knew it, of course. So Darth and Joe quickly transported home while the bird was still waiting outside. Now, Darth and Joe, you know when you transport, it doesn't take any time at all. So they were back home, back in Joe's basement, which is actually Darth's basement as well. Excuse me, I just coughed. And Darth and Joe were working on this feverishly, and pretty soon they got a very safe amount of the chemical. They transported back, well, first they went to the kitchen and they asked their mom if they could have all the vegetables in the house, and she said sure, because, you know, that's the way their mom was. And they made this huge casserole. They held on to it. It was shaped like a rat of unusual size, and they decided, actually, maybe we should make a few. So they stopped at the store and bought some more vegetables, and they mostly got vegetables that were really cheap that they were about to throw out anyway, because they didn't really need to have the best, most delicious vegetables, because they were going to change it into animal cells anyway. Both plants and animals, by the way, are made out of what are called cells, which are the tiny building blocks of life. They're little tiny microscopic bits of cells and of animals. Anyway, they changed it to animal meat, but it wasn't a living being. It was just able to feed the giant bald eagle creature, and they brought them back. They transported back into the pit of death. Well, the real rats of unusual size were no longer chasing them because they had already thrown out all the curd to them, but they pulled out these, which were now made out of living animal flesh, but with no particular brain or thought process, because it was because they were made out of chopped up vegetables. So suffice it to say, I mean, the giant bald eagle creature grabbed one in each talon, thanked them profusely, asked them if they wanted to ride anywhere. They said, sure, that might be fun. He picked them up with his beak, very carefully holding on to the backs of their jackets, and flew them home, and took the rats of unusual, artificial ones they created, back to his babies, who just loved it. And Darth and Joe thought, is it dangerous that we use that chemical? I mean, will it turn the birds' babies into plants? And Joe assured him that no, that we just use enough to alter the structure of the vegetables into animal food. We did not actually leave enough so there'd be any chemical left in there. And that made Darth feel a lot better about the whole thing. So that's the story of the Cave of Doom and the giant bald eagle friend, and his babies, two babies, a boy and a girl, called Squeaky and Eeky, who all became friends of Darth and Joe Vader. The end. But what about Doom? Said somebody. Oh, Dr. Doom? Yeah. He'll be back. You can count on it. Well, since the time that I recorded that story, there's been an alarming development. Do you guys remember when I told you, when I was visiting in Chicago, about Doom's planet, the planet of Doom, that he keeps in an alternate universe? He was able to suck spaceships in, and Darth and Joe got sucked in, and they saw Trithy in there. Well, anyway, they were able to seal up that hole. But it turns out that Doom can move that planet anywhere he wants, in or out of the universe. That planet is some sort of universal spaceship. He has an entire planet, and on that planet are his goblins. His special doom goblins, which have the spindly long legs and are extra tall. Luckily, they're easy to beat, but there are a lot of them. In addition, Doom has the ability to blast fire blasts out of his hands. He's a very dangerous character, Dr. Doom. Well, it was exactly that problem of the moving planet that confronted Darth and Joe Vader almost a year later. Darth was 8 years old, Joe was 6 years old. They were young Jedi warriors, just about completely trained, and they were on Taffy Planet. Oh, Taffy Planet is an extremely sticky planet, as you might imagine. By the way, I am in space right now. In case you hear noises of other spaceships passing, it's because I'm just outside planet Earth while I'm telling you this story. Heading toward Indiana, I hope. Although sometimes they put Wisconsin in the way just to vex me. Vex? That means to bother me. Alright, anyway, so I'm telling you this story, and it's, of course, completely true as any other Darth and Joe story. This one is about Planet Taffy, and how Darth and Joe Vader had gone there to buy a potato. Well, of course, Darth and Joe, they have potatoes on their own planet, but they don't have cherry potatoes. Cherry-flavored potatoes, banana-flavored potatoes. The people of Taffy Planet had managed, through genetic engineering, to create potatoes of all sorts of different colors and flavors and sizes. There were potatoes as big as your head. There are potatoes as big as the truck spaceship that's passing me, which is an enormous spaceship, cargo spaceship that holds other smaller spaceships within it. Now that spaceship that's passing me is turquoise, a kind of bluish-green color. But the potatoes, they're mostly potato-colored, but they come in many flavors, as I've said. Well, one such flavor was cherry. You see, there was going to be a birthday party for their friend Sam, cousin of theirs, actually. And he wanted cherry-flavored potatoes at the party. Darth and Joe knew how to pick them up, so they went over to Taffy Planet to get it. Well, they noticed when they got there that the Taffians, the people of Taffy Planet, who are, of course, a sticky bunch of people who are very flexible and bendy, that the people of the Taffians, they were very worried. Joe asked them what was the problem. Well, and they pointed up in the air, and one thing that they had noticed was the weather was terrible on Taffy Planet. Normally the weather is perfect, but this time there are storms and dark clouds and rain. It was really bad for the Taffians, who try not to get wet. It melts them a little bit. And it wasn't good for the potatoes either, to overwater them. What's causing the bad weather? Asked Joe. It's some sort of evil creature named Doom. Doom? Doom is here? Asked Darth, to the Taffian who had said that. Well, he's not right here. We think he's up in that spaceship. Where? Well, I don't see a spaceship. I see a giant. The sky is completely dark. Yeah, that's the spaceship. What? That can't be. It's too big to be a spaceship. Well, that's where the radio signals have been coming from. He says that he's going to destroy our planet if we don't give him potatoes and taffy, enough to feed his entire army for a year. But we can't afford to give away all those potatoes and taffy. We rely on tourists like you coming to buy our potatoes and to buy our taffy. Besides, our children need our taffy. See, the Taffy Planet produces a lot of taffy, and the Taffians eat this taffy, and they eat so much of it that it gives them that incredible flexibility that they have. They're able to bend and stretch their bodies. So they need to feed their children a lot of taffy. And Doom wants all their taffy and all of their potatoes for free. He's not even going to pay for it. What are we going to do? Well, said Darth, luckily for you, Darth and Joe Vader are on your planet. Where? Here. We're Darth and Joe Vader. You? Who are Darth and Joe Vader? You haven't heard of us? But we're famous. Oh, you're the singers, right? You're singing that song. What was that song you guys sing? No, we're not singers, said Joe. Although we can, sing a pretty good tune if you'd like us to. No, we don't have time for that, Darth said. No, what Joe means to tell you, said Darth, is that Joe and I are Jedi warriors, almost completely certified. Jedi warriors? Wow, said the Taffian. What's a Jedi warrior? You haven't heard of a Jedi warrior? Oh, I have, said another Taffian. You guys are the actors. You put on those plays where you reenact ancient scenes from his... No, said Darth. Although we can act if we need to. We're defenders of peace for the universe. We're the Jedi warriors. We're Jedis. Jedi Knights. There was no response. Well, you're about to find out what we can do. Right, Joe? Right, Darth. Hey, what can we do, said Joe. We're going to have to fight Doom, said Darth. Ah, he's too powerful, said Joe. Ah, he's not too powerful for Darth and Joe Vader. Are they here? We're them! Oh, yeah, that's right, said Joe. We're Darth and Joe Vader. So what are we going to do? We'll have to come up with a plan, said Darth. So they went back to their hotel room on Taffy Planet. They couldn't think of a special plan except for actually going up to Doom Planet, which was the spaceship above the Taffy Planet, and just finding Doom and trying to beat him. We might need help, said Joe. Doom's able to dematerialize and materialize wherever he wants, plus he's incredibly powerful. You're right, said Darth. Even if we use the blue fire light swords, we can move instantly quickly and defeat him. He could, when he saw us coming, just dematerialize and move to another part of the planet. Well, what kind of friend could we get? Some sort of expert in materialization and dematerialization. I have it, said Joe. And Joe had it all right. He had the idea, and the idea was the ancient Jedi. If we can get him to come, we'll have to use the white lightsaber, said Darth. Exactly, said Joe. So they transported up to Planet Doom, or Doom Planet as the case may be. And they were careful not to walk into any of the Doom caves. They saw there were hobgoblins around. Doom probably knows we're here already, said Joe. Yeah, said Darth, but he doesn't know our secret plan. And sure enough, before they even had a chance to go anywhere, soon hundreds, maybe even 1,000 of these hobgoblins came out from the cave entrances. See, all around Planet Doom, there are these domes that stick up out of the ground with these black holes that are cave entrances that people can go in or out of, and it leads into the inside of the planet. They're much bigger on the inside than the outside, these domes. And then you get lost in a maze of scary inside places. So Darth and Joe thought they'd have a better chance of fighting Doom on the surface of the planet, where it was nice and light from the light coming from the sun. Well, they started fighting off the hobgoblins, and pretty sure enough, Doom himself showed up. And Doom said, Darth and Joe Vader, how nice of you to drop by my planet. My little planet of Doom. Why don't you come inside my caves of Doom? We can have a little talk. And Darth said, no thanks, Vader. We like it out here in the light. Oh, well, that's just too bad, because it's no longer going to be light out here. And Doom waved his hand, and huge metal sheets folded up over the sky and cut out all the sunlight, and it was pitch black. Doom was wearing special goggles that allowed him to see in the dark. Seeing in the dark would be a great advantage, said Joe. I gotta remember that, said Darth. Yeah, just in case we ever find that ability, said Joe. But right now they didn't have that ability, so they turned on their blue swords of fire, which were like incredibly fast. They were powered on their own, so as soon as you moved them, they would instantly go to where you wanted them to go. So nobody would possibly have a chance to jump out of the way. Nobody except Doom. Anytime you even started to look like you were going to swing, Doom would dematerialize and in a puff of smoke and reappear somewhere else. But that wasn't Darth and Joe's plan. They were only using the blue lightsabers for light. Then Darth took out the white lightsaber, dropped it on the ground, and before it hit on the ground, whoosh, the ancient Jedi appeared, flipping over, grabbing the white lightsaber. "Ha! Some sort of Jedi trick," said Doom. "It won't work against this." And Doom reached out his hand and blasted the ancient Jedi, who deflected the blast with his white lightsaber. "Huh?" "That's right," said Darth. "This is the ancient Jedi, and now you have to face all three of us." "I am Dr. Doom. Nobody challenges Dr. Doom." And he reached up both hands, and he blasted, one blast toward Darth and one blast toward Joe. Darth and Joe flipped out of the way, and then Darth threw his blasting rock, that he has a blasting power, from his ring, which is now attached to his wristwatch, at Dr. Doom. And Dr. Doom started his blast, but it wasn't in time. It was thrown backwards toward one of the Doom domes, the entrances to the Doom caves. And so Dr. Doom bounced off there, and he stood up, and the white lightsaber, the ancient Jedi, flipped onto the other side of Dr. Doom, and just as he was swinging, Dr. Doom dematerialized and materialized behind Darth and Joe. Well, Darth and Joe were ready for that, and they used the Time Lord trick, because they'd been training to be Jedis. Well, that's actually they are, and they'd been training to be Time Lords, so they knew how to make copies of themselves to confuse Dr. Doom, and pretty soon they had several copies of themselves. Well, meanwhile, more and more hobgoblins were appearing, the spindly leg kind, and so Joe threw his confusing blast at them, and they were all confused and bumping into each other. "It won't work on me," said Dr. Doom. Of course, it would have worked on him if they had actually been able to hit him with it. But he immediately pulled out a giant metal-looking lightsaber and swung it toward Darth. It hit Darth in the side and it flung him against the ancient Jedi, and both of them landed against one of the caves. "Wait a minute, you can't do that to my friend Darth," said Joe, and Joe flipped out his lightsaber and he swung it, but Doom dematerialized. Where'd he go? "You all right, Darth?" "Yeah, it wasn't that bad a blow. I'm all right." And the ancient Jedi warrior was looking around, and he looked in a far direction at a hill, and he pointed with his lightsaber. "Doom must be up there. Isn't there a castle on top of that hill?" And they looked. Sure enough, Doom's castle was on top of that hill. "I don't like the looks of it," said Joe. "I don't like the looks of it," said Darth. The ancient Jedi said nothing, as always, but they decided they had no choice. They had to go up that hill. Well, the first thing they noticed when they got to the base of the hill was a sort of a crease or a seam in the ground. "This is a mechanical hill," said Joe. "I just know it." "You're right," said Darth. "Look at that. I bet this entire hill can go underground." "Well, we have no choice. We're going to go up this hill, but I think we should take the fast way." And Darth reached out his hand, and the ancient Jedi handed the white lightsaber back to Darth, and he disappeared. And Darth and Joe transported up to the castle on the top of the hill, and they reappeared there. And as soon as they opened the door to the castle, which was unlocked, they noticed that the castle started lowering. And in fact, just as they had predicted, the entire hill was going underground. That was Doom's plan, to take them inside the planet of Doom, into the caves of Doom, or the caves of Doom. However, Darth and Joe weren't afraid. They knew they had to do what it takes, even if it meant fighting Doom inside of his own caves of Doom. And so, they went down in it. In the meantime, the castle had a very nice kitchen, and they fixed themselves a nice cheese sandwich. Well, there they were. By the time they were finished eating the cheese sandwich, the castle and the entire hill were completely underground. "I don't think Doom's inside of this castle." "Hey," said Joe, "since we're in our universe, we can use the galactic computer to pinpoint the exact location of Dr. Doom." "You're right," said Darth. "Let's do it." And they used their wristwatches to hook up to the galactic computer. Logging in, they located Doom. He was about 14 yards ahead of them in a small room on the left. "Could be a trap," said Joe. "Oh, it probably is a trap," said Darth. "Let's go anyway." But first, Darth took out the white lightsaber, threw it on the ground, and before it hit the ground, the ancient Jedi flipped out and grabbed it. "We're going into that room," said Darth to the ancient Jedi, and the ancient Jedi nodded his head, and he in understanding. "And we're going to transport in. You take it for the outside." Darth and Joe transported inside the room, and the ancient Jedi warrior stayed on the outside. And sure enough, there was Doom. He was holding some sort of controls to a giant robot machine. He had put his arms inside of it, and now each one of his arms had a huge crushing glove, and he swung it around and it hit Joe in the side before Joe had time to react. Well, a massive blow, throwing Joe to the other side of the room. Are you all right, Joe? Yeah, ow, that hurt, but I'm okay. Darth and Joe instantly put on their rings of invisibility, turned on their invisibility powers. Just then, the ancient Jedi warrior used his white lightsaber to smash down the door leading into Doom's office. So now, Doom swiveled around and saw the ancient Jedi warrior. He took both of his crushing metal mechanical arms and tried to grab the warrior, but the warrior flipped up into the air, did a backflip, and kicked Doom on top of the head and landed behind Doom. Ah, a fast one, eh? Said Doom. No, well, you won't be fast enough to avoid this blast. And Doom got ready to blast, but just then, Darth rematerialized in front of the ancient Jedi warrior and used his blasting power to blast against Doom's blast, and it was a standoff. The blasts met in midair. There was a huge amount of power, and both blasts were blasting away. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Who's not even there. And in the meanwhile, Joe, turned on his blue sword of fire and flung it toward Doom. And Doom didn't have time to get out of the way, and it smashed through one of Doom's mechanical arms, and Doom's blaster stopped, and Darth's blast went forward and almost destroyed Doom, and Doom fell to the ground. And soon, Doom decided the only thing he could do was escape. The forces were too powerful against him, and Doom said, "All right, I'm leaving you." And Darth and Joe said, "Oh, you are you? Well, first, you're going to stop this attack against Planet Taffy." And Doom said, "I can see I've been outfoxed by you three Jedis. All right, if you allow me to escape with my life, I will leave the Taffians alone." And Darth and Joe said, "I'm sorry, Doom. That's not good enough." Darth said, "You've committed a great crime by attacking the Taffians. We can't let you get away that easily. We're going to have to take you off to jail." And I reached over the white lightsaber, and the ancient Jedi warrior disappeared as Darth got the white lightsaber. "That's a neat trick," said Doom. "But how do you propose to take me to jail? I can dematerialize at any time." Like this, and he nodded at Joe. And Joe knew exactly what Darth was thinking, and they both transported to the in-between universe. Well, luckily, time stops on their universe while they go to the in-between universe. They were in the big white room where they land. In the in-between universe, you can hear the spaceships outside while I'm talking. They're trying to figure out what to do. And Joe asked Darth if he had a plan, because why did Darth want to transport to the in-between universe? Darth said, "We need some help stopping this dematerialization ability of Doom." And I figured that we might as well come here and see if Dr. What, if we can visit What, he might have some clue about materializing and dematerializing. And so they transported to What. And What said he didn't know exactly how Doom's materialization and dematerialization worked, but it probably created some sort of vortex field. And if so, it could be blocked by some sort of beta energy blockers, but they would need to have an expert in dematerialization and rematerialization, and that would be some sort of magician. There was a magician named Squib. Squib was an ancient magician practiced in the ancient arts of materialization and dematerialization. He used to put on magic shows where he would make elephants appear and disappear. "How can we find Squib?" said Joe. "You can turn around and look behind you." "What?" "No, I'm What. Squib's behind you." "Huh?" "No, Huh's not even here." And Joe turned around, and sure enough, Squib was there. "Hey, how did you know to come here?" said Joe. "Well, I'm a good friend with Dr. What, and I keep very close tabs." "How did you get here?" said Darth. "You didn't materialize, did you?" "Exactly," said Squib, and he demonstrated. He waved his arms in front of himself, and quickly, for a second, he was shimmering, and then he was gone, and then he was on the other side of the room. "Wow, that's just like transportation, but it's sort of shimmering." "It's not exactly the same," said Squib. "It's dematerialization and rematerialization. Now, this Doom guy you're fighting, if he has this ability, he's very dangerous, In fact, he must be an ancient magician like myself. That's what we figured, said Darth. Can you block it? Yes. I'll need to work with Dr. What, because he'll help me. What? We need to what? Said What. Well, I was just going to say, said Squibb, we need to build some sort of machine that can project beta blockers. And I will have to focus this energy from the chi surrounding whichever area we're going to be located. And if I can focus the chi to create the beta blockers, if you can have a mechanical device to spread them about, we'll be able to block it. Exactly. So What and Squibb worked on that, and they said that they would meet Darth and Joe on the Doom planet. And Darth and Joe rematerialized on Doom's planet. The castle had popped back up on the hill. So, but Darth and Joe decided, we're not going to fall for the old castle trick again. And they already told What exactly where Doom was located, where his office was. So Darth and Joe transported back down inside the planet, inside Doom Planet, or the planet of Doom, into Doom's office. Let me just roll up these spaceship windows a little better. It's getting very loud here out in outer space. I'm almost to Indiana, you know. And they transported down there, and Doom said, you're back. I thought you would run away. No, we came back with a plan, they said. And Doom said, I've already told you my plan. That's my last offer. You'll never be able to catch me when I can do this. Floop, and he disappeared and reappeared on the other side of them. Well, we can do this. And Darth and Joe transported to the other side of Doom. Yeah, well, we can do this all day, or you can let me go. Not so fast, said What. What? Yeah, that's right. What? Huh? No, Huh's not here. My name is Dr. What. You might know an old friend of mine. What old friend of yours? I think he's referring to me, said Squibb, and suddenly Squibb materialized. Squibb! What? Are you with these guys? That's right, Doom, and you better give up right now. No way! I'm out of here! And Doom, there was a sudden puff of smoke, but Doom was still there. I'm out of here? No, you're not, said Squibb. You're here. And What was holding the machine they had created, which was focusing the beta blockers and spreading them out, which Squibb was getting from the chi of the around the planet. That was causing no dematerialization to be able to take place. However, Darth and Joe could still transport, and so Darth transported on one side of Doom and Joe on the other, and they held up the blue lightsabers to Doom's neck, and they said, Doom, it's your doom. Give up right now or prepare to meet your doom. And I don't think that you would want to meet your doom. My doom? That's right, said Darth. All right, you've won this round, said Doom. And this is the only round, said Darth. And he stuck a time lasso around Doom and handcuffed him with special titanium rope that he had acquired on planet Nebulum, which means that it's incredibly powerfully strong rope that he tied up his arms with. So they took took Doom to jail, and in the meantime, the authorities towed away Doom's Doom planet, and all of those hobgoblins had nothing to do, so they created a sort of zoo where people could look at the hobgoblins from behind the safety of a piece of glass, and they fed the hobgoblins and tried to keep them happy, because after all, it wasn't really their fault that they worked for Doom. They weren't very smart. And so Doom was taken to a special prison where beta blockers were constantly being beamed at him. Dr. What, of course, helped design the prison. It was a prison run by the Time Lords because they had the most experience with these sort of specialized prisons. The prison was only in the fourth dimension. However, the beta blockers kept Doom from dematerializing, and special reinforced titanium containers and plexiglass force fields kept Doom's blasts from blasting out. So that's where Doom was held in prison, and this prison, hopefully, he would never again escape from. By the way, Sammy had a great birthday party with cherry-flavored potatoes that year. Dr. Doom is a bad guy. No one knows just quite why. He wears a mask and a black cape. It's held on with very strong tape. My advice to you if you see Dr. Doom is you should leave the room. Alright, I can see there's a little more space on the tape, so I'm going to sing you an annoying song. This is about Xena, who's a warrior princess. You'll learn more about Xena later. For one thing, she taught the red-headed girl how to jump. Xena is a warrior princess. In fact, oh well, the kids are all hopped up and ready to go. They're ready to go now. They got their crossboards and they're heading to Elysian Fields a go-go. But she just couldn't stay. She had to break away. Ah, well, ancient Mesopotamia really has it all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Xena is a warrior princess. Xena is a warrior princess. Xena is a warrior princess now. Bum, bum, bum. Xena is a warrior princess. Xena is warrior princess. Xena is warrior princess now. Well, she's got a friend named Gabrielle who's learned how to fight really well. A nemesis named Callisto. Who would have thought she knew how to disco? Yeah. A bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump. Well, Xena and Gabrielle, they know how to fight. They know how to fight, yeah, but they only fight for good. They use their power for what's right. Ares is the god of war. Xena doesn't hang out with him anymore. 'Cause she knows that war's not right. Oh yeah, oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Xena is a warrior princess. Xena is warrior princess. Xena is a warrior princess now. Bum, bum, bum. Xena is warrior princess. Xena is warrior princess. Xena is warrior princess now. Well, she's a warrior princess, a warrior princess, a warrior princess, a warrior princess, yeah. A bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, bump, bump. Well, it's a bumpy ride, so bump a bump.